Monogamy is dead, guys, especially in gay relationships. Now, before y'all start going, because I know y'all coming for me in the comments, hear me out. We're living in a time where the traditional idea of a relationship, of love and one person forever, no expectations, that's crumbling. Okay. And honestly, that might not be a bad thing. Now, for me, I just personally couldn't see myself in being in a relationship and only sleeping with one person my entire rest of my life,
Welcome to another episode of J Inclusive. Please share, like, comment, subscribe, and set your notifications on so you are alerted every time I upload.
The idea of monogamy came from, it wasn't designed for us. It wasn't designed for us in mind. For decades, LGBT relationships were focusing onto secrecy, and now that we're more visible, there's this pressure to copy straight relationship models. Focusing onto secrecy, and now that we're more not attracted to other things, and that's just not real life. So, you get a variety without deception. You don't have to sneak around. You get stronger communication skills. Couples in open relationships talk more about their feelings and boundaries, to be honest. And you get the freedom to be yourself. You're not forced into a box that doesn't fit your needs. If monogamy is the fairy tale,
Armon Wiggins, who is currently in the midst of a rebranding, posted a video on his new channel, Lufe Life Manifestations, where he stated that, for him, monogamy was dead. Instead of focusing on the topic of monogamy, the gays were attacking him for his opinion. One person commented, "Let's normalize not taking advice from people who don't have any history of healthy relationships." When someone pointed out that Armon had been in a relationship for at least 5 years, that same person responded, "What's a 5+ year relationship where y'all can't even travel solo without having to fuck something? The gays be together for financial reasons, not love. What works for some may not work for others. And the idea of what defines a successful relationship varies from person to person. I've been in relationships that didn't last, but they were still successful because I learned so much from them. Those experiences helped shape me into the person I am today." Relationships end for many reasons, and those reasons aren't always negative. Sometimes people naturally grow apart due to personal growth or life circumstances. Now, let's get into what some of these guys think before I share my opinion.
I don't know who needs to hear this, and you could take it however you want, my love. But let me tell you something. There's certain people who are built to be in an open relationship, and some who aren't, and in the long run, they're open to it once that foundation of communication, trust, loyalty is built. Right? Right. But that's not why I'm doing this video. The reason why is because there's a lot of gays who settle for the bare minimum, who are not okay with open relationships, who are not okay with their partner, venturing off into someone else. But they make themselves believe that they're okay with it because they're afraid they can't find something better, someone who can actually meet them halfway and give them what they want. And if you're someone who's strictly monogamous, like me, please do not fucking settle. Like, I'm begging. It's okay to be monogamous still in 2024, I promise. And it still exists. You just gotta make sure you set those boundaries, and those boundaries are not blurred. Especially in the moments when shit gets rough. That's when you really know if your boundaries are really set in place or not. And if you're someone who's in a situation where all you want is someone to love you and you only, and your partner is not really into that, run. Believe who they show you they are the first time. Do not stay with them because you see the potential in them. That's not enough. Life will pass you by and you'll realize 20, 30 years from now that you could have gotten so much more from someone else.
Stop thinking there's something wrong with you because you're a gay man who wants a monogamous relationship. Monogamy is a choice, just as open relationships, polyamory, relationship anarchy are all choices. The important thing is to be clear with your partner and with yourself about why you have chosen this choice. Monogamy has always been presented to us as the most natural, the most morally correct way to be in a relationship. But one of the lovely things about being gay is that we're forced to look at the way things have always been done, realize those rules weren't made with people like us in mind, and begin deciding what rules we want to make up for ourselves. Maybe you want no rules at all. Maybe you want all the rules your parents followed or didn't follow. Whatever the case, ask yourself, why am I choosing this choice? If fear is keeping you from exploring new ways of being in a relationship, Notice that fear and name it for yourself. Then notice the story that fear is telling you. The story could be, if we have an open relationship, then he'll meet someone better or younger or richer or hotter or newer or whatever. And then he'll leave me, and then I'll be alone forever, and then. If this sounds anything like the story you're telling yourself, it's likely that fear is driving the choices about your relationship, and you're not. There are a lot of great reasons to be monogamous. There are also a lot of downsides to consider. The point is, whatever you and your partner decide is right for you, choose your choice, and choose it consciously.
I know you may want an open relationship, but bitch, not me. And I get so frustrated because here in Austin, with the gay community, a lot of gay relationships will start 3 months. They're just monogamous, and then all of a sudden they become open. And usually the premise is around one person in the couple wants to expand. They want to expand because maybe it's like a sexual thing. Maybe they believe they should have multiple lovers, whatever they do. The other one came into this relationship thinking it was going to be monogamous the whole time. And so they end up loving this other person so much that they just do what they want, kind of. And so half the time I'm thinking, like, don't literally just break up with me. If we are 3 months in a relationship and you already are suggesting being open, what the fuck does that mean? No, you never mentioned this before. I don't want to be involved in that shit. And so, like, I feel so bad for the gay couples that struggle with that, because now this other person feels obligated to even saying yes to this open relationship thing and whatnot. And I feel like it's such a disservice to the one that actually came into this relationship wanting something monogamous, and then the other one having fleeting ideas about something open. I think it's such a disservice and so fucked up. So if you are one of those people that is suggesting something open when you knew that this was supposed to be monogamous in the first place, maybe, fuck you. That's wrong.
Open relationship and monogamy. I just want to have an open relationship. Like, well, I don't want that. Does that even exist for us? It's easy for us to feel like we should be doing the same thing. People start to tell you it's supposed to be this way and that way. And then if you start to question like what you actually want for yourself, it feels like that is all that we're meant to be. There has to be more beyond that. For me, if I ever want to have a family, what interests do I want to reflect?
After my last post, some people are asking like, why do I even want monogamy? And really the truthful answer is like, I'm just an all or nothing person. If I really like you, like all of my attention is just like on that person. But coming from like a traditional Mexican family in some ways, I like having a partner. I like the idea of like growing old with somebody and like you guys are only going to share this special emotional connection and physical connection only with each other. So for those of you out there that you commented that you've been with your partner for this many years or that many years and that it's possible, hell yeah. That makes me happy. Good for you guys.
If you're not gay, just keep scrolling. Being in an open relationship is the reason why you can't find the love of your life. I'm gonna say it again. Being in an open relationship is the reason why you're not finding the love of your life. I would rather be single the rest of my entire life than be with someone because my self-esteem and self-worth were so low that I was okay with them leaving the house and doing the deed with random people. That is not normal. I don't care how often you want to say, it's normal, open relationships are normal. They're not. They're not normal. They are unfulfilling. You are unfulfilled. Like, I've never been convinced that any two people in an open relationship are actually happy. I've never been convinced of it. You could have an amazing life and share it with one other person, but you chose to throw it away so you could take random wieners. Is that not crazy? Like, am I not crazy? Am I crazy for thinking that monogamy is like the only respectable relationship you can have? Otherwise, what are you? You're just friends with benefits who live in the same place together. It's not a partner. That's not a partner. You can't convince me that any of you are actually happy in one either. Like, something deep down in you bothers you when they leave the house and you know what they're gonna go do. This conversation comes up every year though, and I'm hoping that we can just get it together and shut up about this. Open relationships are not normal. Stop convincing people that they are.
So I saw this tweet this morning, and it brought up a thing that's always kind of confused me a bit. You can read it really quickly to get the sentiment of it, but it's basically that thing where people say monogamy kind of breeds this sort of like toxic environment where someone has to be your everything, and that like one of the beauties of being non-monogamous is that you have multiple people who can like fulfill different things. Now, instinctively to my head, that doesn't make sense because I've never looked for a partner to be my everything. The times I have been in relationships, I don't disappear into them and like abandon all my friends. And one of my green flags for dating is making sure that the person that I'm talking to actually seems to have a healthy, independent social life, like close friends, things like that, and aren't just using dating as a means to have someone to fulfill that like genuine human social need. But I don't want to be one of those people who just reflexively, because I wouldn't do it, that like, oh, it doesn't make sense, it doesn't happen. Clearly it happens. It's got a lot of likes there, a lot of people resonate with it. But what I do think is kind of happening here, which is something that's necessary no matter what type of relationship you're in, is navigating and enforcing and knowing what you will and will not stand for. And it kind of feels like a lot of people, maybe it was their early relationship or someone that they really, really liked, so they like discounted a few things here or there, and that led them to having like a really toxic experience, that like obviously I wouldn't want. Like I personally have had a relationship, I was dating a guy for a bit, and it started off good, but as it went longer, when I'd want to go like hang out with my friends, he'd get really possessive and even like text and call me and be like, oh, you're like sleeping with your friend, oh, you're hooking up with them. And these were sometimes just like straight platonic friends, like not anything relationship oriented. And that's why I broke up. But I think there's a lot of people out there who, when presented with that, were too scared of being single and instead blamed the relationship configuration that they're in, instead of being like, oh man, this person is not a good fit for me, I should break up with them. And it kind of brings me to something else that I've been thinking about a lot lately, just with my dating life, is I don't feel like I'm particularly picky when it comes to dating. I don't feel like I am. But thank you to TikTok. Thank you to this app, because seeing all the messy relationships that y'all get into and the stuff you stand for, it's like, oh shit, I guess maybe I do have high standards, or maybe y'all's are just in hell.
Is monogamy dead? No. As long as people continue to pursue successful monogamous relationships, it will never be dead. But does that mean non-monogamous relationships are any less valuable? Absolutely not. Polyamorous and open relationships still operate within a framework of trust, boundaries, and agreements set by those involved. In fact, just like monogamous relationships, someone can still be cheated on if those agreements are broken. A friend of mine has been in a thriving polyamorous relationship for years. He and his partner met on Jack'd when one was living in Texas, while my friend was born and raised in Atlanta. Since their relationship started long distance, they initially agreed to keep it open. But once the Texas partner moved to Georgia, their dynamic shifted from open to polyamorous. They eventually got married, and while they've been searching for a third partner for quite some time, they're happy, committed, and thriving. It works for them. The point is this: if polyamory works for you, great. If open relationships are where you thrive, that's phenomenal. If monogamy is your ultimate goal, that's wonderful too. As long as everyone involved feels fulfilled, respect is mutual, love and support are present, and no one is being pressured into anything, then there's no issue. We need to learn to respect different relationship dynamics rather than devaluing them simply because they don't align with our own desires.
One of the challenges many gay and bisexual men face in pursuing monogamy is the misconception that it's unrealistic or unnatural for us. Society often perpetuates the idea that same-sex relationships are inherently non-monogamous. But the truth is, every individual and couple is different. It's important to challenge these stereotypes and recognize that monogamy is a valid choice for anyone, regardless of your sexual orientation. And here are some of the most common misconceptions about monogamy, right? So number one, monogamy is not achievable for gay men. One of the most pervasive misconceptions is the belief that monogamy is not feasible or realistic for gay or bisexual men. And this misconception often arises from stereotypes portraying gay men as inherently promiscuous or unable to maintain long-term committed relationships. One of the most pervasive misconceptions is the belief that monogamy is not feasible or realistic for gay or bisexual men. And this misconception often arises from stereotypes portraying gay men as inherently promiscuous or unable to maintain long-term committed relationships. And in reality, many gay men desire and practice monogamy, just like individuals of any sexual orientation. And in fact, a majority of the gay men that I have worked with want a monogamous relationship. But that brings it back to what I said before. Truly understanding whether you want and value a monogamous relationship or you feel like that is what you should want, and value based on societal pressures and structures and those kinds of things. The second thing here is gay relationships are inherently non-monogamous. Another misconception is that monogamy is not the norm. Specifically for a monogamous relationship, there's the conversation of fidelity and commitment. Right? So fidelity and commitment are at the core of a monogamous relationship. So you need to be committed to each other's well-being and the health of the relationship. And this includes remaining sexually exclusive and faithful to each other, as well as prioritizing the relationships over external temptations and distractions and all of those things. Now, again, I want to be very clear here. Fidelity is more so specific to monogamous relationship. Commitment is not. Commitment is an important key to it. But there is also commitment in open relationships and polyamorous relationships. The sixth thing here is just shared values and goals, right? Aligning on those values, those goals, what you want to prioritize long-term in regards to your individual goals, goals as a partnership, goals within the relationship.
You know I